A question I often get from beginner guitarists is, where are the chords in classical guitar music? Sometimes when we come across songs or methods in folk or pop styles, we get taught C major chord and G major chord and D major. These chords are incredibly common and popular, and they come up in many instances in learning music. In classical music, we have these chords, but we don't always have them in that recognizable common shape. So, the chord of C major, for example, has the notes C, E, and G. C, E, G, and then the C on top is repeated, and so is the E. So we actually get these three notes repeating over and over again. So if I played C, E, G, C, E, you'd recognize it as the most common C major chord that comes up in a lot of music. If I removed that first note on the top string, that's still C major. If I removed the note on the second string and just played C, E, G, that's still C major. In fact, if I didn't play the bass note and I played E, G, C, that is still C major. We're taking the three notes that belong in this harmony and we're jumbling them up, but it still makes the same harmony. It just sounds a little different. Now, if we extrapolate and keep going further, if we take C, E, G, little out of tune, that is still C major. C, G, E, that is still C major. So you can see that that C major chord can be played in many different ways, in many different places on the guitar. We could have E, C, and that's C major. But doesn't that sound so different? And because of the difference in that sound world, it's appealing to composers to vary up those voicings, the way we spread out those notes and put them in all sorts of orders, because it sounds different. So it's like using different shades of blue to paint the sky or the ocean. In this way, we get a lot of variety of harmony, albeit with the same kind of harmonies that you find in pop music. We just don't have the consistency or repetitive use of a particular shape. So when learning classical guitar, it's sometimes asked, why haven't we been taught this? I thought this was one of the first lessons of guitar, to play a C major or maybe a G7. Well, in fact, those chords will come up in classical music, but all of the other versions, all the other types of voicings also come up in classical music, so much so that it's not such a clear delineation of a shape that we call C major. Rather, we learn all these different permutations, which can seem a little overwhelming perhaps as an idea, but it does become more familiar to you as you learn the fingerboard, as you learn to think in triads, these three notes, as opposed to just one shape on the guitar. Now, if you want to have a bit more research into the topic, the kind of ideas we're talking about are chord inversions. That's where we jumble up the order of the notes. We're also talking about chord voicings, about where we put the notes, if bass register, middle, and high. That's voicing, how we choose to make those notes sound in the different range of the instrument. And harmony, of course, is a generic term where we have these notes combining to make particular chords and harmonies, somewhat interchangeable with the word chord. So that's an insight into where are the chords, insight into the question anyway, or an answer to the question, where are the chords in classical guitar? They are everywhere and constant, but they're not repetitive, so they seem to be a little bit elusive to lock down as a particular shape.